the long-term plan at quarterback.
Mm.
Obviously, it's looking like Brock Purdy is going to be the franchise quarterback for this team. Right now, he's the biggest bargain in the NFL. But after next year, he'll be eligible for an extension. And if he wins an MVP or Super Bowl or two, man, Lamar Jackson's making $50 million a year. Brock could make that too or more if he's an MVP, if he's looked at like that. So what the Niners could do is just accept that pretty soon they're going to be spending a whole lot of money on Brock Purdy and just bring in whatever backup, sign Sam Darnold again next year and have him around. Or they could draft a quarterback. Not to get rid of Brock, not to trade Brock, but just to hedge their bets and have another option. Because, the Niners are the team that found Brock and developed Brock. And if they can do it once with this supporting cast, they might want to try it again. I think it would behoove them to draft a quarterback this year on day 3. It could be in round 7. It could be an undrafted free agent. Be serious about it. Bring in a guy who's played a lot, who sort of fits the Brock Purdy blueprint. I think they should do it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And really, not like you said, not to replace Brock, but when you look at it, why would you want to go get a retread quarterback like a Sam Darnold or a Jimmy Garoppolo to be your backup when you know that if these guys enter the game, your chances of winning go way down? Or you can bring in a guy who has the opportunity to be better than them for a hell of a lot cheaper, and you can develop them maybe into something more. Maybe you have a situation like the Bengals have right now, where you have a Browning come in, plays very well, and at the very least, you can flip him for draft picks if he's under contract, at the very least. Or he can become your long-term starter potentially if things go amazing. I think that's definitely the way to go. And you look at what the 49ers did with Brock Purdy, that's exactly what they did. In this situation, they were able to trade Trey Lance. You didn't get a lot for him, but it afforded you the ability to trade him and then keep Brock Purdy as your franchise quarterback. But that was only allowable. The only other option would have been this. If Brock Purdy wasn't here, Jimmy Garoppolo would have been back for $20+ million this year. That's what would have happened, I believe. So because of Brock Purdy being
which would have been a freaking disaster.
It would have been a disaster, and they wouldn't have won a Super Bowl, and it would have been the same old thing over and over. So, yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Why go with these retreads? There's no point. Don't bring in the Marcus Mariota or the Gardner Minshew's or any of that stuff. Just go get a young quarterback or two even and see if one of them can pan out and be your long-term backup.
Yeah, I mean, the Sam Darnold signing made no sense. That's not what you've stumbled upon. You're not trying to do reclamation projects. You can't develop quarterbacks. You want guys who are ready-made because they exist and they're cheap. Instead of signing Sam Darnold, who's making like $4 or $5 million this year and would make more if he actually played, they could have drafted Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
You could have had Aiden O'Connell instead of freaking Cam Latu. For your starter, he's good. I mean, he'd be fine on the 49ers. He'd be better than freaking Sam Darnold and cheaper. Seems to me, Brock Purdy should be the highest paid quarterback on this team next year, making $1 million. His backup should make like $900K, and the third string guy should make like $750. Wow. And I bet they'd all be good. The Niners should be looking for that. Don't bring in some retread who has had 1 million chances and failed. Bring in a guy like Jake Browning, a guy who hasn't really had a chance, but has certain similarities to Brock Purdy and could thrive in your system. Not a guy who's a loser. Sorry, Sam.
Or bring back Nick Mullins. That's fine too.
honestly, yes. That's not even stupid. If he wants to play for $1 million, sign him up, man. He'd be fine. He struggled on the Niners a little bit. He never played with McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle and he could be the third string quarterback for this team. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Him, Purdy, and a draft pick or an undrafted free agent. That should be the quarterback room next year. That's plenty good enough. Sam Darnold, thank you, man, for being a coach in the meeting room. Really, really helped everyone. Your services are no longer necessary. Brandon Allen.
That's the question I have. And I'm not saying it's not happening, but if you do bring in Nick Mullins to be your third string quarterback, at least you know that he's there teaching, right? Is Brock getting that help now? I mean, a lot of these starting quarterbacks really rely on their backups to help them with film study and those types of things.
Why do you think Brandon Allen is in the building, man? He developed Joe Burrow.
Yeah, he
He
did.
developed Jake Browning.
Brandon Allen's probably helping. I don't know how much Sam Darnold's helping out with.
He's the MVP of the team.
Film study.
He's the MVP behind the MVP. That's who he is. Brandon Allen. Yeah.
He's the real MVP.
No one wants to talk about that, though.
Like when KD said his mom was a real MVP, that's what Brock Purdy does when he gets up there with the award, and it's like,
Brandon Allen,
real MVP.
He wrote down flashcards for me and would quiz me on coverages. Matthew Sanders says, y'all forget how serious the CTE thing was. Player suicides, dad saying they won't let their kids play football was threatening to end the league. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm not at all. They're doing the right thing. It's just had an effect on the kind of players who have success. And I do think that while sponsors definitely want everything to be above board, there's a reason why people love watching the movie The Waterboy. And it's not because of the quarterback play in that movie.
Yeah, NFL Blitz was a thing because the way the league was. But Matt, I think you're
point. NFL Blitz.
Yeah, you're kind of mishearing us. We're not saying that the league should go back that way. We're just saying this is how the league has changed and this is the result of it. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Dennis Green says, why are you both wearing coats indoors?
This is a hoodie. This is not a coat, sir. That's one. No, I'm just kidding. It's cold, man.
Because I make the rules.
Listen, it's been low 60s, high 50s in Tampa the last couple of days. That is freezing. I'm used to 70 plus degrees during this time of year. So yeah, I'm cold.
Aru Illustri says, I'm thankful to Brock Purdy for killing the term QB room.
Yeah, I remember that was the thing going into this year. We have the best QB room. Who cares about a QB room?
Which means you don't know who your quarterback is.
Yeah.
Lobs all day and night on 49ers After Dark says, Jesse, have you changed your opinion on Purdy? You did call him Mobile Mullins before. Do you believe he can be a franchise quarterback?
No, I didn't. Go find where that happened. Why do people make things up? Okay. No, nothing has changed on my opinion with Brock. My opinion is not going to be known. The result is not going to be known for a couple of years. I like Brock. Okay. I've always liked Brock. I've got videos when he was drafted celebrating it. I've got texts talking about him in 2020 on this very show. Before we drafted Trey Lance, we were talking about quarterbacks that we liked. And I said, yeah, you know one that I like, Grant? Brock Purdy, but he didn't come out this year on this very show. So I like Brock.
I was like, you know who I like? Kellen Mond.
Yeah. So I like Brock Purdy, but don't conflate that with thinking he has to be the best quarterback or believing in him blindly. Like, that's not what I'm going to do. I can like a player, but also not believe that they're a franchise quarterback. Those two things can both exist. So, but no, I never called him Mobile Mullins. Go find that, please.
Hey, a Mobile Mullins might be an MVP. So here's the thing with Mullins. I actually think Mullins is pretty good. But to me, his demeanor, he cares too much. You can see as soon as something goes wrong and he cuts him on the sideline, he's like beating himself up. It's like Brock never does that. Brock is so confident. And Mullins is just, he seems like self-critical. Come on, man, let's do this. It's like, nah, man, relax. Be like Brock. When he missed that, when he couldn't get that quarterback sneak, I was so heart broke for the guy.
It was so
the guy needs a hug.
He's like a real Rudy Mullins.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's like you can look like me and be an NFL quarterback. I wish I had known this when I was a kid. I could have been a quarterback, Jesse.
You could have been a quarterback. That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback. Dazzler says apparently you're a BP hater unless you think he's Joe Montana and better than Mahomes.
Yeah, that's it. And that's where it's at. It's like, listen, if you're not willing to say I think he should win the MVP this year or could win the MVP. I think he's in the conversation. I actually think CMC should win the MVP. But if I don't give it to CMC right now, I'm giving it to Brock Purdy. But because I'm not ready to say he's a franchise quarterback, it's hatred in some sort of weird alternate world. But keep it pushing, I guess.
Doesn't Mahomes kind of feel like LeBron or Michael Jordan, or it's like he's the MVP? Everyone knows it. By far the best player in the league. So you could give the award to whoever has some good numbers that year. You can make an argument. But in 30 years, we're going to look back and be like, oh, that's kind of cute. Someone else other than Patrick Mahomes won the MVP this year when everyone knew Mahomes was the clear best player. Fine. I mean, his numbers don't warrant it, and you don't just give it to guys off reputation, but it's Mahomes.
It's like Karl Malone winning the MVP and then Jordan ripping
Yeah.
his heart out in the finals. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, and like if it is the Chiefs against the Niners in the Super Bowl, no one's going to bill that game as, well, the Niners have the edge at quarterback because their guy won MVP. Like, no. Sorry. No. And we all know that. Lobs all day says Mullins versus Baltimore D is big test. Best D scheme in NFL. Mullins? Did you call?
Yeah. Well, why is Mullins?
Did you mean to call?
The one that called him Mullins.
Lobs is getting them confused. That's too bad.
No, their scheme. I do agree with this, Lobs. I think their defensive scheme is elite. It is a very, very good scheme. Yeah.
Aru Alestri says rename the show Niners Coats to Coats. That's pretty funny.